Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about tax hacks for gig workers. So one of the most important points about being a gig worker is maximizing your tax opportunities as a gig worker. It's not just about the money coming into your account from your gig work, it's money going out to the IRS and maximizing tax benefits you would have as a business. Now I did frame this as hacks, but really it's just smart business. So with that said, we are going over some of the best hacks for gig workers, how to best capitalize on them and not capitalize on them, and everything in between. But before we do that, let's go over a quick disclaimer. The content of this video does not contain and is never intended to be legal, business, financial, tax, or health advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. Also, thank you to GigTax for verifying this information and making this video possible. Setting up an LLC or S-Corp. So when you're a gig worker, you may initially start as a sole proprietorship. You start on Uber, you start on Doordash, you start on Instacart, you got bright-eyed and bushy-tailed enthusiasm, and you basically got going from there. After all, you came from the world of W-2 income. The thought of tracking your miles and expenses is not really a thought because that's not something you're used to or didn't even think about. That said, setting up an LLC or S-Corp can help you access tax benefits that help you reduce your taxable income and even access some of the better tax benefits for business owners in general. If you would like to learn about the inner workings of this, I made a video on each of the tax entities already. I will leave that video in the description. Feel free to check that out. And you could decide based on where you are and where you're going on your gig journey, which is best for you. Setting up business accounts. So one of the most important points of being in business for yourself is making sure you have the necessary business accounts. More specifically, the business accounts that would provide you the documentation necessary to claim the tools you're using for business purposes. For example, your phone plan. Maybe you're using T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, or otherwise. Are you using T-Mobile for business? Are you using Verizon for business? Are you using AT&T for business? So that way your business entity is on the tax bill and you have the proper documentation for that. Maybe you're shopping on Amazon and you're shopping on Amazon for business and not just your Amazon. Or really wherever you shop, there's a lot of places that do have business accounts. Now, if you completed step one, you already did this, but do you have a bank account for business or do you have a business bank account? Because you don't want to do too much mix and match with personal expenses and business expenses. And also your credit cards. Are you building business credit so that way you can have a higher credit limit in the event that you need to borrow money for business purposes? The point is that if you're setting up accounts for personal use, but really it's for business use, you're missing some opportunities for tax write-offs. Now, you don't want to do that with everything. I do want to be clear about that. Social media specifically will only cost you money if you open a business account. Social media companies need to make money too. And one of the ways that they do that is by having businesses set up business accounts and kind of hold back their viewerships so that way they can offer to promote your content and charge you for it, which really kind of just sucks. So make sure you do your research on the type of content you should create so it doesn't cost you more than it should. Mileage and expense tracking apps. This might be the most foundational of gig workers write-off opportunities, and that is the mileage and expense tracking app. This app should be able to track your expenses and your mileage so that way you can save the most on your tax bill. When it comes to tax season or even your quarterly payments, some trackers even have tools available to help you decide which method is best for vehicle write-offs. Some years you might be better off using the standard mileage method, and some years you might be better off using the actual expense method. If you're unsure what I'm talking about, I made a video on this already. I'll leave that in the description. Feel free to check that out. But that said, the app you choose could also depend on your needs of the business at the time. Maybe you don't need to track your expenses because you have a bookkeeper and you pay for that every quarter and even annually for tax season. So you don't need to track your expenses when they're going through all your statements. You really need somebody to track your miles. Maybe you are super independent. You want to do everything yourself. totally fine. And for those who took a 179 deduction on your car, so the standard mileage deduction isn't even available to you, you still need the mileage tracker as well, because you need to identify how much of your driving is for business purposes. So it's kind of a wash regardless, and also much more rare for gig workers, but nevertheless, it is possible. Either way, you need to have the proper software to track these things. Set up a home office. Gig work is not all in the car. Sometimes you have to sit down at a computer for administrative purposes, or other work you may need to do. Maybe even gig work that is more home-based rather than delivery or rideshare. I made a video about the inner details of this already. I'll leave that in the description. Feel free to check it out. Developing an exit strategy. Yes, I did have to slip it in somewhere. The gig economy is an income bridge to what would be a long-term goal and not the goal. And from a tax perspective, developing an exit strategy opens up a whole new world for tax benefits. If you're just a gig worker and you set up a home office, you could write off the surface area of your desk, and that is your home office. But if you're a gig worker and you develop an exit strategy that requires your office for storage space, and you use your home office for storage space, now you have more to write off with no extra cost. If you develop an exit strategy that involves content creation, and you use the background of your office as a backdrop, you not only have the office space that you could write off, you could actually write off some of the items in the back that you write off as well, if you decide to get all fancy with it. But just make sure you're talking to a tax professional as well, so you're not pushing those methods too far, you know what I mean? Speaking of, consult with a tax professional. I know that there are a lot of people that are super independent and don't like to hand off stuff like taxes to anybody, especially because it can get really expensive if you're talking to the wrong person. But consulting the right tax professional can be the difference between spending the proper amount on your taxes and receiving an audit from the IRS. That said, you don't want a professional who is going to charge you for all the 1099s you will inevitably accumulate. You want someone who will help you for one flat, affordable rate. That's where GigTax is here to help. Filing your taxes on time, promptly, and accurately is an inevitable aspect of being in business for yourself. And for every hour spent on navigating tax season alone, you miss out on potential earnings, precious moments with loved ones, and expose yourself to financial risks. Recognized as the leading tax preparation service for gig workers, GigTax is dedicated to simplifying the process, saving you time, energy, and money. Founded by Joseph Mayo, a seasoned gig worker with 6,500 deliveries across 7 platforms since 2020, GigTax addresses the overlooked, overcharged, and underserved needs of gig workers in the financial realm. Wyld subscribers can take advantage of an exclusive 77% discount on GigTax's tax prep, bringing the price from $538 to $124. Act now to get this price locked in before GigTax's calendar is booked, because GigTax helps those just like you make the wisest and most effective decisions on your taxes all year round. Secure your spot today with GigTax using the description link below to their Instagram page, slide into his DMs with the word Wyld, and get back to what you do best, making the most amount of money in the least amount of time in the safest possible way. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.